Hello, everyone. This is Miss Beth from the Door County Library and our very last virtual visit of the summer of 2021. And this time we are going to be talking about having chickens in your own backyard. So today we are going to get a visit with the chickens that are in Cami's backyard. She is the one who has been going around and seeing all of the farms for us and doing all of the recording, so you will recognize her voice, and we will get a chance to see her chickens, and she'll talk about them a little bit. And then at the end, I will come back, and there were some questions that I had. So I asked her a few questions, and she has the answers to my questions at the very end. So if you are thinking about chickens, this is a fun time to have that conversation. It does require a little bit of advanced planning because you can only get your chickens in April, I think. So you have to decide in advance. You can't just say, now I'd like some chickens. So I hope you enjoy a visit with Cami's Backyard Chickens. Bye, everybody. Have a good time.
Hello, everyone. This week we are looking at some chickens that we had gotten this spring just to have around our house to eat the bugs and to lay eggs. So we had gotten 6 of them in April, and they spend 2 months living in the house, getting old enough where they can be outside. So we put them outside about the end of May, early June, when it got warm enough at night and during the day. We do let them out of the coop during the day, usually after the morning after they lay their eggs, because we have some starting to lay eggs. So far, right now, we have 1 rooster and 5 hens. They really want to come out, but we like having them in there to lay eggs because we've been finding the eggs all in the long grass, and we don't want that. And if you look here, we have their food and water inside. And we can collect their eggs. We created a little egg basket and put a fake eggs in there. See, oh, there's a real egg in there. So that they know where to lay, and it trains them. These guys have a lot of funny feathers on their faces and their feet. And what we also have out here is we built a sink because, especially with birds and chickens, you want to wash your hands after every time you touch them or touch their coop. So we make sure to wash our hands after every time. And then we keep their shavings and their food in a waterproof container so that we can easily change it out. And as you can see, we put wire around the bottom of our coop to help prevent predators from getting inside. And we're gonna let them out and let them free range. They like to come out, say hi, and go eat bugs all day long. We have 2 different varieties, 3 of each. You can see the black ones have some funny feathers on their heads and their feet. They're a special variety that like to free range and eat a lot of bugs. So they go outside during the day, and then every night they go back into the coop so they can sleep there safe from predators and then lay their eggs in the coop.
Hello, everyone, and I hope you had a good time watching those chickens. That was lots and lots of fun. The things that I asked her after all we were all finished were things like, did you have chickens when you were a kid? Because I know she grew up kind of out outside of town. So did you have chickens when you were a kid? And she said, no, she never had chickens when she was a kid. Her parents had some a few years ago, but this is her first time actually having chickens on her own. Where did you get your chickens? Well, she said that we could see some of those things. So what did I do? I said, let's take a look at the possible places where you can get chickens. You can get chickens from the Tractor Supply store. They have, not only can you shop for actual chickens and choose all of your chickens, but all of the things that you would need there. So locally, the Tractor Supply store has them, and locally, so does the Country Store, which is the Door County Co-op. The Door County Co-op is along the highway as you're coming into Sturgeon Bay from the south, and the Tractor Supply store is on the north end of town as you're traveling up the peninsula. So, but they're both on the highway. You can kind of see them both from there. So that's fairly straightforward. Now, there are other places too. You can just just take a look and see where they might be. But yeah, do a little research. There's at least 2 places where it's pretty easy to get everything that you need to have chickens. All right. I said, what about when they were babies? You mentioned that they had to be brooded. So she got them when they were itty bitty little babies and they had to grow up and get bigger, and that's brooding. So when I went online and I looked under brooding, Tractor Supply Store has a little 101 for raising baby chicks when I just Googled brooding and caring for chicks. But here's one that Cami suggests. This is Brooding and Caring for Chicks, the UNH Extension Office. And that, when you click on it, takes you to the University of New Hampshire's page on taking care of baby chickens and all the good important details that you might need, and even some people who might who might be able to answer some questions for you. Cami says, they need to be in a brooder until they are old enough to get the majority of their adult feathers, and it is warm enough outside. So a brooder is a simple way to keep chicks warm and safe. We kept the chicks for about 2 months in our spare bathroom with a bathtub and a heat lamp until they were old enough to go outside. On a side note, she will never do that again, as it took her 2 days to clean all the chicken mess out of her bathtub. All right, brooders can be many different types of containers or fencing to keep the chicks in a small space, and a heat source like a heat lamp or heating plate that keeps them warm. Chicks usually stay in a brooder for about 6 weeks. Bedding is put down for the chicks to be on and must be changed regularly. If one is brooding chicks, they must be very cautious with the heating sources as they can prove to be a fire hazard if not set up and maintained properly. So they do talk about how far from the bedding you need to have that, and that if it's too far away, the chicks won't be warm enough and they'll get all cold. And if it's too close, the chicks are too hot and you could have a fire. Fire alarms are a must. And that information is all in that link that I showed you about brooding and caring for chicks. All right. Another question. She lets her chicks out in her backyard. Do the chickens run away? Do the chickens run away? She says, when we let our chickens free range, they stick around the house and then head back to the coop when the sun starts to set. We also give them additional food at night, so they're ready to go back in for the night and eat. So she puts food inside and they know that that's their house. Okay. Did you notice that there was grass underneath her coop and that the coop was fairly small? I said, do you move your coop around so that it's not always in one place in your yard? And she says, our coop is in our backyard and we move it regularly so that they have new grass underneath it. Because of course they're going to be picking and looking around in the grass and the grass might start to die underneath there. So you want to move it around pretty regularly. What about in the wintertime? Where do your chickens live in the wintertime? In the winter, if the coop is properly insulated and their water source is not frozen, the chickens do well. On some of those extremely cold weeks, a heating plate or lamp may be required. So you might have to run some electricity out to your chicken coop to give them a heating plate or lamp to keep them warmer, even if your coop is insulated. Oh, how many eggs do chickens produce? You said you were just now starting to get some eggs. We just started getting 2 chickens to produce eggs, and we are getting 1 egg per day from each of them. And that's pretty normal, is 1 egg per chicken. So if she's got 6 chickens that are laying eggs, theoretically, she gets 6 eggs a day from those chickens. All right. Where do you get the food for your chickens? So the chickens, yes, they're pecking around and they're eating bugs and they're having a good time in the yard, but what else do they eat? She says they eat chicken feed, which we get from the Tractor Supply store, or you could get it from the Door County Co-op. They have that. Feed is mostly made up of grains and other things such as oilseed meal. We do give them some food scraps such as fruit and veggie scraps. And I said, oh my goodness, all right, how do you clean the coop? So there's chicken poop in the coop, right? Because they stay there all night long and they're pooping. As we clean the coop by pulling out the bottom tray and dumping the wood shavings and scraping if necessary, and then replacing it with fresh wood shavings. So they have a special tray that pulls out from underneath all of that stuff so that they can clean that when the chickens are outside. Oh, well, what do you do with all this poop? Can you use it as fertilizer for your garden? Oh, they kind of poop where they want because they are free range. So they are fertilizing our lawn, she says. All right. Are chickens nice to each other? Or do your chickens get along? I heard that chickens sometimes don't get along very well. Pecking order comes from that. So she says the majority of the time they are like brothers and sisters, mostly nice to each other, and they like to be around one another, kind of stay in a group, but at times they fluff their feathers up to each other to show some dominance. So they bicker like siblings because more or less they are siblings. All right, so those were my questions for Cami about chickens, and I hope that you learned lots. I certainly did, and I hope you had a really great time with our virtual visits this summer. Thank you very much for coming. Bye, everybody.